My mother, Patricia Schwarber, has been in management consulting for over 25 years. She was the first female principal at one of the nation's biggest companies in this field, and now she has her own company, so she is an entrepreneur in her own right. But she's going to be doing two things which I affectionately call QuirkShops, quick workshops on the quirks that come up in the workplace. I'm going to try to trademark that and brand that. You all can help me do that on the bus. But for right now, we're just going to give it a rough pilot. Here's my mother, Patricia Schwarber. Thank you guys very much.
I've got 25 to 30, I wish I had my son's voice, 25 to 30 years experience with a company called Kepner Trigo, located in Princeton, New Jersey. And if anybody's ever heard of it, I think that's great. Most people have not. But it is an organization that has a hallmark, which is critical thinking. And basically what we're going to be talking about in the two QuirkShops is really critical thinking, because that's all decision making is. Decision making is really using critical thinking to come to some sort of a solution, a resolution. And when you're on that bus, you're going to have hundreds of decisions to make. How many of you don't make any decisions right now? How many of you never have conflict? Okay, good, because you're going to have all of that on the bus, but you're going to have some tools to deal with that. Ian's pet name now, Quirk. Usually, these processes are taught over a period of 2 to 4 to 8 hours. We're doing it in 15 minutes. So I'm not going to be able to do my typical asking lots and lots and lots of questions of you, because I want you to understand the process. So I'm just going to say that that's my caveat up front, that I'm going to be sharing with you two major processes that you will be using, and then we're going to talk about it at the very end, okay? All right. And I also would tell you that you're going to have job aids. I have made you cards that you're going to be taking with you. So if you miss any of this, believe me, you've got it right here, okay? All right, let's get started. So what are my objectives? My objectives are, you always start with your objectives, and you're going to see how that plays into it. My objectives are, first I want you to understand in this one the decision-making process, okay? And then you're going to practice it with me. I'm going to walk you through it, but then you are going to then implement it on your journey this week, okay? Typically, I want you to discover it on your own. I want you to understand how you currently make decisions and then see the difference. I'm hoping that as we go through it, you'll recognize that for yourself, like, geez, I guess I never do that. Let me give you an example. And I hesitate doing this because my husband is somewhere in the room. And I know where he is, I'm just not pointing him out. As I said, I travel. I've traveled for over 30 years. Usually Donald will pick me up at the airport. Very first question, after 30 years, the still thing, and I still fall into it. So where do you want to go to dinner? I respond, hey, why don't we go to Jimmy's Bistro? And he'll say, oh, I don't want to go to Jimmy's Bistro. It's so small. Why don't we go down to Luigi's? Luigi's, I don't want a little bit of lettuce with cheese. Okay? So we go home and we eat Cheerios. All right? How many people have had an experience similar to that? Yeah, we all have. And the reason being is we're starting at the wrong place in making a decision. And this is the one nugget. I always look for nuggets. The nugget I want you to remember. Decision making is built on 3 elements. Objectives, alternatives, and risks. Normally, we get those all out of whack. When I said Jimmy's Bistro, where did I start in my decision making? Did I start on the what or the where? Sure. Objectives are what we're trying to do. Alternatives or choices are how we will get what we want. Most of us start at the wrong place, right here. Mark my words, when you get on that bus, you'll have the answer. I know how we can solve this problem. Oh, wait a minute, why don't we do it this way? I want you to back it up, Harry Connick Jr. Back it up and basically look at first your objectives. Now, the example I'm going to give you is something that all of you have probably done. I want to buy a car, but I want to buy a new car. Now, if I want to buy a new car, What does that already assume?
I have money.
I have some money, sure. Does it also assume that I had another decision? I need a mode of transportation, so I'm going to buy a car. And then from buying a car, I want to buy a new car. So decision making typically has a hierarchy. So when you stop and think about it, and you're on that bus, I want you to think about, if we're at this point, what decision came before? What was the decision that got us to this point? That's your decision statement. So if I say I want to buy a car, I've thought about that. And what I'm going to do is show you some of my objectives. Okay? Now, objective setting is based on three things. First of all, it's results, resources, and restrictions. So 3 R's. What are the results you're trying to achieve? What are the resources you can commit? Somebody said money. And what are the restrictions? Okay? For my car, I know I only have $21,000 in the bank that I can spend. I know I have to have a 4-door. Ian has a 2-year-old who sits in the back seat of my car, so I have to have 4 doors. I want a minimum of 35 miles per gallon of gas. I want a reliable car. I don't want to be stuck out somewhere by Cedar Point and have the car break down. I want to maximize safety. Safety is very, very important to me. I want cargo space because I travel all the time. I have to put luggage in there. And mind you, I teach this stuff. One time I got a 2-seater Honda, which was my client, when they first brought out the convertible. That was a good decision. And minimize my cost. I know how much I have, but boy, if I can spend less than that, it would be great. Okay? Now, are all these objectives equal? Are they all equally important? No, they're not. Some of those are going to be musts. What do you think a must is?
Maximum.
It's the maximum. It's the limit. It's also non-negotiable. Remember that. You absolutely have to have it. It's mandatory, but it's also measurable. Make sure in your musts you have some sort of a measure, because it is going to limit your choices. That's why you have a must, because it's non-negotiable. Some of those will be wants. They're nice to have. They make your decision better. This is the absolute. The musts, the wants make your decision even better. And the value will be different on your wants. And we're going to give it 10 to 1. So let me demonstrate that. All right. Maximum 21,000. What do you think? Must or want? Must. Sure, that's all I have. 4-door. It's a must because I have to get that car seat in the back. Now, whenever I say minimum or maximum, that immediately tells me it's a want. Why do you think? It's negotiable. It doesn't have that specific limit. It's a nice to have. So in my case, the most important one that I looked at and would give a 10 to is safety. Okay? That's the one that has the most value to me. Then I look at the others in relationship to that. So I look at minimum 35 miles per gallon. I say that's a 7 compared to the 10. And then I do it for all of my other ones. Now, could I have 2 10s? Sure, if they were of equal value. Okay? But the rule is you have to have 1 10. One has to be your most important. So what you've done now is you've set your objectives, your results, your resources, your restrictions, and you classified them into musts and wants. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our alternatives. Now, I have already selected the 3 alternatives I want to do is evaluate each one of these against the maximum amount that I had. So I found out through Consumer Reports exactly what the dollar amount is. The Corolla's $19,395, the Civic's $20,415, the Mazda's $21,325. Do they all stay in? No. So the Mazda comes out. It is a no-go. So do you see the power of a must? You have to make sure that you understand a must makes it non-negotiable if it's not met. Okay? So the other ones are goes. All right? We're then going to do the same thing for 4-door. It's a go. It's a go because this one's out. Now, I just want to demonstrate one of the want objectives. Over here, we gave a value to how important that objective was to us. Now what we want to do is we want to look at our data and say which one best meets that. Which one gives us the best fit? So if I say minimum 35 miles per gallon, the Corolla gets 36, the Civic gets 40. Which one gets my 10? The 40, the Civic. So that gets the 10. If I multiply it by my 7, I get a 70. If I multiply the 36, because I gave it a 7, compared to my 10, 36 to the 40 miles per gallon, I decided in comparison it was lower than. You're going to do that for all of yours. Now, when you're on the bus, you might not want to use numbers. You might want to eyeball it. But if it gets to be a complex decision, you need those numbers because eyeballing it won't do it. You then total up all of your weighted scores for your number. Now, are you done? No, because all we've done is done the objectives and the alternatives. Most of us then say, oh, good, it's 340. I'm taking that Civic. And it may be the best choice. But we didn't think about risks. Every decision you make has risks. You can make the best decision here in the world, but a risk will kill you. And all people remember it was a poor decision. Okay? So if I go with the Civic, what could go wrong? That's all you ask. What could go wrong if we decide, let's do the Civic? Guess what? It's the highest rated stolen car right now in the United States. Woo! What if I say, ooh, then maybe I'm going to go with the Corolla? Well, the airbags are still in a lawsuit. They also have a lower resale value. If I can get this off. And right now, there are 12 pending lawsuits. So I decided I think I'm going to go with the Civic. But what I feel is that it's the best balanced choice. Your best balanced choice is always how much benefit can I get and how much risk will I accept. Okay? That's decision making in 15 minutes. Okay? All right. Okay.